Another Merritt Applejack situation might have held herself back. Might have only rocketed past comets and nebulae so fast, not just to take it easy on her still aching body, but to give her depressed friend a win. Or maybe they'd have just avoided it by teleporting us both home. Not only was Applejack too honest for any of that, she knew me too well. She beat me fair and square. That breaks your competition tie, doesn't it? Next time, don't start a race with a belly full of cider. Applejack laughed through hard breaths, collapsed next to me on the floor. Even the grandstanding brought an easy smile to my face as I gasped out, "We'll have to do a rematch later." Finally, I'd rested enough. I get back to a stand, and we open the door directly ahead of us, re-entering the very room I'd flipped out in and teleported out from. As it turned out, time hadn't stood still while I'd been off feeling sorry for myself. The only one here was Pinkie Pie, covered in a blanket, made more scribbly than usual, surrounded by cups of hot cocoa. "You came back!" She jumped up and hugged me. Startled, I hugged her back. "Pinkie Pie! Pinkie Pie, there's no way in heck your Pinkie Promise Sense didn't tell you Rainbow was out of her funk by now. We didn't know you'd come back!" Pinkie Pie cried, hugging me. "I thought you'd go on this big epic journey to find yourself and draw things out even more, or get into a big fight with aliens or something, and we'd have to come save you. I'm so happy you're back!" It's good to be back," I said, squeezing her tighter. Let me break narrative here for a bit, before we get to what happened next for me. After everything, my big plan was to get actual factual professional help instead of any fancy schmancy vision quest or pixie dust to make my troubles go away like this lot would offer me. I had all these big plans. I'd visit different eras, live different times, earn my own money like any other pony. I'd pay actual psychologists to help me through my horse apples. I'd even spend time as a companion with Dr. Hooves. I'd invite Applejack on visits which Miss Cannot Tell a Lie would mess up, and I'd start a new life. I'd live as just a pony again, waltzing through history. Spike would pass himself off as either a pony or a pony-sized young dragon. He'd be such a hit with the ladies. I got a peek once of a world line like that. Pinkie Pie would join me with aliases like Perky Pep or Peachy Puff. She suggested those herself. And be herself again. I'd invite the psychologists to my world after spilling the beans. The ones who thought I was crazy or called the guards would only find a door that led to an empty shack or a bathroom if they tried. I had all these super cool aliases I'd use, and all these jobs I'd learn how to do, and I'd get a taste of the real world again, instead of a life filled with a rotating cast of minor deities. Riverdew, Red Dynamite, Risky Dice, Radiant Dawn, Ritzy Diva, Razor Dart, Raw Dharma, Rhapsody Drive, Rumba Drum, Rogue Dynamo, Rapid Downdraft. I had all these ideas, until I remembered that without Nightmare Eclipse, I had no clue or ability to travel through time, let alone visit different universes. You think Eclipse would let any pony else know her trump card? The surviving Twilight had to trick it out of her. Dang it, stupid laws of physics. And the more I visited the mortal world, the more I felt like some pony was watching over my shoulder, like I was a big beacon to some pony. Rarity was sensing me. Guess it made sense, considering now walking anywhere was like walking on our skin. Whatever happy world Rarity was making for her Rainbow Dash, her Applejack, and her Spike, I wasn't about to intrude. I didn't belong there. That, and I was afraid of making any pony suspect Eclipse wasn't gone for good. If I was going to meet that Rarity and her friends, it'd be after I paid my debt to creation. Strangely, I never sensed Twilight. I'd have used the Pocket World's controls to jump us to a point in the past, but I destroyed it myself to make sure Fluttershy couldn't change her mind and run again. Also, I didn't really have access. Thundernice was the only one Eclipse reluctantly gave the key to, and I didn't think she'd help me out here. I wanted to ask the doctor to let me borrow his TARDIS for a bit, but I had no idea how to find him. I asked Razaroo if she could ask for me. As if I would have any better luck finding him than you, Razaroo snorted. Besides, Alicorn Ascension happens retroactively. She's now the mortal world in every instance, past, present, and future, in the same way Twilight became magic in every timeline. She giggled at my obvious confusion. Right, still technically a mortal pony stuck with mortal ideas of all that space-time nonsense. Then she looked towards Sweet Apple Acres, and her expression turned pensive, almost sad. I turned to watch her gaze. Starlight, her friends, and Zecora had set up shop at Applejack's farmhouse while I'd been gone to review the Scoodaloos and how to handle each one. The Scootaloo Alliance army of awesome was hanging out in the orchard, eating apples, chatting with each other, none of them having exactly the same expression. Applejack wasn't objecting. A slow trickle of them filed in and out of the barn and clubhouse. While you were talking with Starlight and the others before you ran off, the Scootaloos, they all told me to let them remember whatever happened to them before you brought them here. My heart stopped. You did it, didn't you? And I don't like myself one bit for it, she said sternly, her eyes narrowed. You could have said no to him. Could you have? My ears pinned back. I asked them to wait until the meeting was over so you'd be there for them, but I flipped out over Discord and left without a word. I sighed. At that point, they thought I was making excuses and demanded I do it on the spot. I decided it was best to let them make an informed decision when it comes to their fate in the world to come. I swear, Rainbow Dash, this wasn't a conspiracy. I know, you wouldn't have told me if it was. I was scared when they remembered that they'd hate you, that you'd want to spend one last day with them, that you'd lose your chance to say goodbye to the innocent Scootaloos. But they don't hate me, I pointed out. They all must have known who I was, what I was in their souls, even without their memories. Scootaloo's like me, she trusts her feelings, and she wouldn't have helped me if that was what she truly felt. But they also fought for me, with me, every single one of them. Yeah, I'd been what to say at that time. I'm stubborn, but I wasn't that thick-headed. I'm sorry, Rainbow Dash, I really am. I didn't mean to doubt you. I was scared. Scootaloo's my friend too, whether she remembers or not. I never even got the chance to say goodbye to her when my world ended. I didn't want that to happen to you too. All I want is for her to be happy and alive, and for each of them to not have to endure their memories of that horrible world. I guess I was just being overly cautious. You always intend well, I shrugged. It's a shame we can't just make a whole separate universe for each one of them. Say, that's a super swell idea, Rainbow Dash, Razaru beamed suddenly. And we'll put you personally in charge of all of them. Thanks Celestia I wasn't drinking anything just then. Jokes aside, she continued, ignoring me choking on air. I asked that before, and we're bending the rules as it is. We're making a single new universe for all the ponies in your Ponyville because they've bonded in the time they've been here. And creating so many universes for just one full? It's disrespectful to the inhabitants of that universe. And it isn't to the ones of the new universe you're going to be making? I asked, after clearing my throat properly. They don't have a perfect solution. When a pony is erased, only their shadow goes to oblivion. Their light returns to Fauna Luster and is sent back into the universe as a new life. We'd be destroying souls if we tried to remake the universe all these ponies individually came from. I thought there wasn't a law of conservation of souls or something like that. Wasn't that how the last Twilight Sparkle kicked Nightmare Eclipse's flank? I was the first one to ask about that. Just this many Scootaloos all born from the same light of existence is already stretching that law really thin. How does that work? She scratched her muzzle like some pony asked to present a complicated lecture in a language they're only half fluent in. Sorry, I'm not a concept or an angel, and neither is Twinklewish. It's hard to explain when even I don't understand it completely yet. But, well, you remember how the last cycle's Twilight Sparkle and Minty Pie nearly fused together? Yeah. That was a pony that was born from the light of a pony meeting the one born from their shadow. For lack of a better term, that was the universe's base code being confused. It's a gross oversimplification, but you've all ponies know how complicated this stuff gets. It's not exactly a common occurrence, most likely caused by something Eclipse meddled with. Otherwise, Bright Eyes and Sweetheart would be having the same issues with your friends here. Wait, what? Long story. Anyway, Rhoda could have easily fixed it, but it was decided that the glitch could be useful in stopping a Nightmare Eclipse under the right circumstances. Now, when a timeline splits, the lights change in subtle ways, like remolds of the same doll. But that doesn't apply to time loops. With so many Scootaloos here sharing identical lights, it's a wonder this reality has been able to keep them from reaching critical soul mass and merging into one giant Scootaloo Legion thing. Oh boy, I gulped. Nightmare Eclipse had shared notes with us on Nightmare Legion, the big thing that Entropy had forged from her shadows for the War of the Alicorns, so I had some idea what that would be like. It took a lot of willpower not to have a panic attack imagining one made entirely of Scootaloo. And if I kept saving Scootaloos? Your orphanage kept them in stasis. They were in no danger there. Mass isn't really an issue. The glitch triggers after the first dozen and counts all the ones after that as the same batch of too many. We aren't forcing the ponies of this Ponyville to consciously remember what their souls already do, because we have the power to let them go on with their lives from when you collected them, as the thing that was a mockery of my little sister was destroying the universe each time. Scootaloo, Oliver, each of her. Did you erase her memories of taking part in a battle with Nightmare Whisper? Of proving to creation that yes, she is real, she is alive, her choices matter? No, I couldn't. Each Scootaloo is going to be free to choose what she wants to become of herself, and they're free to discuss it among themselves. And like you said, they all still love you. They all forgive you. 171,015 world lines, and out of all of that, they all chose to love you and forgive you of their own free will. Think about that. Thank you, Razaru. If their heart already remembered, what made you think their heads remembering was going to make a difference? You have a point. She smiled. Remember how I said Time hadn't politely decided to stop ticking while I went off and had my pity party? Pinkie Pie, Applejack, and Spike had all vastly improved in their mental well-being since I'd been gone. Turns out the universe-making plans had been put on hold in favor of giving me and my friends time to heal. I still insist on doing everything the hard way, of course. Applejack could roll her eyes at me all she wants, but I'm never letting any pony touch my brain again, no matter how much I trust them. You can call me paranoid all you want after you've had a million years soul lobotomy. I'd taken the time on the asteroid to repair my armor, too. This time, it was closer to the style just after the Three Tribes era. Heh, I sound like Rarity. I was sulking in my cloud house due to the fallout of my leaving all of a sudden, I'll get to that in a minute, when I got a surprise visitor. It was the yellow pudgy mare who had been outside the portal writing down ponies' names. Hi, Rainbow Dash. I'm Bonbon, remember? Of course, you're our Bonbon's ancestor, right? Yep. Go Bonbon, having a family name dating back that far. Razaroo mentioned how out of space you are after seeing Fluttershy, and she asked me and Sweetheart to help you. Sweetheart? She's the patron saint of doctors. Helping you girls heal is supposed to be her responsibility. But she isn't a therapist, and I realize that right now, I can probably help you better than she could. I'm not interested in any mumbo-jumbo. Bonbon's face flushed. Don't knock it till you try it. You still believe in the magic of friendship, don't you? I nodded. Then the white mare with the pink hair, Sweetheart, flew to my front door. The halo behind her head glowed like a nightlight. Sorry I'm late. I was helping Fluttershy. I said I'd explain in a bit. Sorry, the stuff got jumbled after some of the discussions I had with the others. Rainbow Dash, Bonbon and I want to help you. We've helped the other ponies. We've helped your friends. And now it's your turn. Right, duty calls, I shrugged. We aren't just doing this out of duty, Rainbow Dash, Bonbon said flatly. We asked to come along to help Starlight and all the rest of you. We aren't even really Reapers. Once this is done, we'll lose our wings, and we can go back to our families waiting for us in Elysium. That actually gave me a tiny bit of pause. They fought against Flutternice's concept-killing horse killer, instead of staying safe in the afterlife, just because they wanted to help? Look, I appreciate the offer, I really do, but I don't want any magic messing around with or in my head. Trust is hard enough for me right now. Sweetheart shook her head. I promise, this isn't mind control, and we won't go inside your soul. Whatever happens is completely private, I promise. I rolled my eyes. Fine, what is it? Bonbon took out our sword. Put it to paper, Cookie Spinner! And it turned into... a pen? Your sword turns into a pen? Hey, work for the kid in those Riptide books. Are you going to rewrite my personality with that thing? It squirts ink and I don't need to refill it. That's its power. Oh. Seriously, with all the focus the elders put on free will, why would they entrust a weapon that rewrites ponies' personalities to a temporary helper? Point taken. All I want, Rainbow Dash, is for you to let Bonbon listen. That's all. And to let me share with you. You're not the first pony I've helped who's seen the entire world destroyed and carries horrible mistakes on their back. Hopefully you'll be the last of the former, though. I was admittedly skeptical, but I remembered some of Twilight's lectures on the eras before ours and what became of them. And frankly, I was too worn out to be stubborn right now. Come on in, there's a couple of chairs. I sat down on the couch. Bonbon took out a blue rainbow-striped book with a lock on it and gave the key to me. I noticed a few other books in her saddlebag. Orange and yellow, green and purple, and two-toned pink, plus a few patterns I didn't recognize. Rainbow Dash, just talk to me. Whatever comes to your mind. You won't be judged or put down for anything. I took in a deep breath and slowly let it out. And I started talking. Now, let's talk about Fluttershy, her daughter, and Discord. While I had been gone, Fluttershy had shuttered herself in, completely and utterly. Remember the way she'd been as the secret puppet master of her own Ponyville? Now she'd gone the complete opposite extreme. I'd seen ghosts demonstrate stronger participation with the material world. You'd go to visit her at the cottage she lived in with her daughter, and knock on her door. Oh, you'd hear her call lightly through the door. You can come in, if you want. Or don't, if you want. When you stepped into her house, you might see Fluttershy more or less drifting in and out of rooms, careful as could be never to disrupt a single mote of dust, let alone touch an actual object. Flutternice did all the cleaning, not because her mother made her, but because Fluttershy refused to disrupt the growing filth herself. You might be tempted to think that Fluttershy had suddenly become the laziest slob ever to vegetate upon a couch. You'd wish you were right. The dust falls where it chooses to fall, Fluttershy would proclaim, and the dirt clings to what it will, and the ants and mosquitoes wander in and out, as is their wont. Who am I to tyrannize them all by forcefully imposing my narrow view of who and what belongs where? Gods, I wish I could say she was being sarcastic. We were all alarmed by how serious she was. Applejack had to triple-check her eyes. Thankfully, when Flutternice would clean her mother in her mother's surroundings, Shy wouldn't object. After all, she'd done so much to control her daughter already. The only input Shy would give on the discussion was, why burden others with my judgmental viewpoints? She didn't want to go anywhere lest she disrupt things. You know, there was a bit of mandatory reading back in grade school. One of the books was called The Chocolate Battle. In it, a Colt had in his locker a poster with a pony before a perfectly still beach in ocean, with the words below it, "Do I dare disrupt the world?" Fluttershy had become the utter embodiment of that. No, not the utter embodiment. The utter extreme of it. There's a difference. I think even Entropy would have thought this was too much doing nothing. Pinkie Pie, Applejack, Spike, Starlight and her friends, Cora, the Scootaloo from Fluttershy's cycle, Razaroo, Flutternice, even Discord all took turns helping her eat. The worst part was how she didn't so much as hug or kiss Flutternice. She hadn't gone heartless. She was scared whatever she said or did next would damage her more somehow. That whatever choice she made would be the wrong one, with 100% certainty. I can't say I didn't know how that felt, given all the angsting I had been doing. Apparently Flutternice smashed some furniture, like any filly looking for attention. And Fluttershy just said, "It seems like you're rediscovering your true self. You know where the knives are. I'll be in my bedroom." Flutternice ran out crying. Pinkie Pie had to cuddle and hug her the rest of that night. Under mind control or not, we were the only pillars left for her in a world that had been completely destroyed. It was the emotional dependence we'd wired into her for eons. When Applejack had come to me, I'd freely bared my damaged, tormented, wrong-headed soul open for her. But the Flutters, though, the moment they felt the subject being broached, they hid themselves behind impassable, impenetrable, impermeable politeness. For the mother, it was like she was tossing her words down an endless black hole that puffed back empty niceties. "Oh, you really sound like you know just what you're talking about, Applejack. I'm so glad that method had worked out for you so well, Applejack. It's so nice that you're willing to take the time to talk to me like this, Applejack. Applejack, that truly is a thought-provoking statement. If I said anything worthy of administering another beating to me, please do not hesitate to do so." Fluttershy's anxieties were the same as my own, only instead of isolating herself on an asteroid, she locked herself in her house. No faith in herself, no trust in others, pussy hoofing around every single thing, no sense of self-worth, belief that she was poison to everything she interacted with, and that the universe would bring its hammer upon her at the slightest misstep, and the automatic assumption that every belief she might have and every action she took was villainous, that she was some virus that infected everything it touched. She'd withdrawn from the universe as a whole, exactly as I'd withdrawn. Apparently, she had taken my leave as inspiration. If Rainbow believes she should cut herself off from the world, why shouldn't I? I remember a song about Big Brother who didn't realize his little brother wanted to be him. We weren't related, and I don't think I was her brother figure, but I feel like I'd ended up in that situation. Flutternice, meanwhile, kept trying every single possible thing to break our mind control, from hitting us over the head with frying pans, reminding us of the good times, to showing us pictures of loved ones, including some of our righteous quests involving Discord. Why do we even have those pictures? Even putting herself in harm's way. She didn't believe, couldn't believe for 1 nanosecond we could have done any of this of our own free will. Not her loving aunts. The love of a child to her family is harder to break than you can imagine. Discord tried to visit Shy time and time again, but was always stopped by Flutternice to protect her mother from him. Discord and Fluttershy had come to an arrangement which resembled that of divorced parents. Discord would come over to Fluttershy's cottage at an appointed time. She'd give her daughter over to his care so they could bond, and he'd bring her places. Did I think Discord would try to corrupt her? He'd been trying his best to subvert his own influence on the various Fluttercurls, even with Eclipse overriding the parts that didn't fit her script, long before we got hit by the magic rainbow explosion. I'd spent this entire time thinking the final Fluttercurl was the only one who'd managed to save. I'd have to be stupid, or still an insane nightmare, to honestly think he'd screw up his second chance. And anyway, it's not like he had much of a chance to do anything. Not one he could do no right by her. Compliment her on looking pretty? I don't need your validation on my appearance. Bring her to a restaurant at the end of the universe? Nothing on this menu can compare to Mona's cooking. Bring her to an inter-reality shopping mall? Money and materialism are the root of all evil, but of course you'd know that. Take her on nature walks? So tell me, how many beautiful forests and oceans did you destroy again? Bring her to an intergalactic amusement park? I hate the music, I hate the lines, I hate the rides. Perform a whimsical magic trick for her? Stop parading around your evil magic, you chaotic freak! Whenever she stood in her father's presence, I don't think there was so much as a single, secret, guilty longing to perform physical violence, because that would go against all her mother's teachings, and when Discord was around, she was dead set on being the supreme exemplification of everything Fluttershy had once stood for. Instead, pure passive aggression had become her weapon of choice, and she wielded it with a soul-crushing efficiency. In a weird way, I'm thankful to Flutternice for reacting this way. Why? Because before, the relationship I had with Discord amounted to, you're just as much a victim of him as she is of you, Rima-Dash. You tormented him as he tormented you. You have no moral superiority to him whatsoever. Otherwise, you're an unfair hypocrite. Okay then, fine and dandy, that's the way it is. But relationships with that as their foundation are brutal on your heart even for short stints of time, wouldn't you say? So much emptiness, pain and guilt, just staring into their eyes. Simply unbearable. Tears you apart from the inside out. But watching Discord's dejection build and build through all the moments he spent in the company of his once adoring daughter, who he thought had been deader than dead for millions of years, his sorrow intensifying with each time Fluttershy slammed her mother's door in his face. It was the very first time in our long, awful history that I felt a heartfelt urge to reach out to Discord, console him, bond with him. And yet I didn't. I couldn't bring myself to approach him directly. Horrible of him, I know, but I still wasn't ready for that step when I arrived. Maybe a part of me felt, since I'd helped indoctrinate her against him in the first place, I'd be of little comfort. Spike was the one who filled me in on the part with Discord, and he told me, the worst part is, Rainbow, I still get some satisfaction out of seeing her slam the door in his face. And it's a horrible feeling. And that was when it hit me. The hatred I felt for Discord all those years was barely a shadow of the hate Spike had felt for him. Dragons don't believe in eye for an eye. If something is stolen from them, they'll take it back tenfold. Theft is the one surefire way to trigger a dragon's lust to burn what lay before them and claim the treasure among the ashes. And Spike had lost his 6 closest friends. Lost Twilight, Cadence, Rarity, his family. And Spike had kept it all in check. He'd proven stronger than that, again and again, while I was the one who would run away. That brings me back to sulking at my cloud house, and Belmont and Sweetheart getting me to bare my heart. I swear, it's like I know them from somewhere, but I can't say where. Nothing like mind control or subliminal brainwashing, just like we'd been friends before. Sorry for giving you the roundabout like that. The nose got scrambled when we were trying to put it all together. And for what it's worth, Sweetheart and Bonbon were every bit as good as they promised they were. Bonbon just listened patiently, and Sweetheart didn't judge me one bit. It really was like she'd done this before, for countless ponies. She reminded me of what Fluttershy was like, back in the good old days. Most ponies never realize it, but Fluttershy is as hard a worker as Applejack is at her field, Violet at her studying, Binky at her parties, or Rarity at her sewing machines. Angel had always been there before to keep her from working herself to death. He wasn't anymore. And now Fluttershy was going to work as hard as possible to nothing herself to death. Sweetheart and Bonbon said it was time to bring in the big guns. Apparently this required special permission from the higher-ups. Who did they bring? You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Imagine some creature like a canine, and not exactly part of the Diamond Dog tribe. Short, about Spike's size when he was a baby dragon. Bipedal, not a human, and going by his species name. But patient, and very, very, very good at listening, to the point where he can draw out words from the pony. He actually coaxed words out of that fortress of manners and niceties. Weirdly, he had the same halo that Sweetheart had. He'd apparently made many friends, and one enemy in one of Discord's cousins, and was called in when nothing else worked. Fluttershy would never ever refuse him entry, the first time mainly due to not being able to defy her base adorable animal instinct. The therapist would talk to Fluttershy and listen to her words. Tongue lashing would serve no purpose, I realized, because that was what Fluttershy wanted more than anything. She wanted horrible words thrown at her. She'd eat up any emotional blows thrown at her. I swear she'd beam if I punched her in the face. What she needed now was kindness and limitless patience, things this guy had in spades. It was a slow healing process. They knew just the right way to listen. They knew the right questions to slip in, the right observations to point out at just the right time. So that's what I figured, at least. Melody used her sword to create a soundproof barrier around the cottage so we couldn't eavesdrop. Private session. Gradually, very gradually, Fluttershy started eating her own food, cleaning her own house, offering opinions decisively, trusting that she had as much right to live and participate in the universe around her as any of us. Then, one day, she finally walked out of her cottage and immediately began crying. Fluttershy? I asked. My friends and Starlights gathered around. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to feel sadness or anger. I didn't want to be anything. It's all coming now. I'm finally letting myself feel everything I've held back for so long. I gently hugged her. So did the other nightmares, and Bright Eyes. What are you crying for, dear? Bright Eyes asked gently. I was wrong. My friends, every pony. I thought you'd send them to Tartarus, even though the nightmares healed us because we still looked like nightmares. That you'd throw all the ponies we saved into nothingness because their worlds were gone. We know, Sugar Cube. We know, Applejack said. I promise, Fluttershy, on every pony I've ever loved, that none of us would have helped if that was their plan. Bright Eyes said. We had a choice. Fluttershy, I'd have helped you if that was the case, Melody said, crossing her hooves. Patch nodded. I know all that now, Fluttershy sobbed, getting all her pent-up tears out. But I was so tired at the end, so tired. I know I said some things that didn't make sense. It wasn't about making up for things I'd done, but being able to do the best I could for those I'd hurt. You were scared, Sugar Cube. Don't worry about it. We're past it now. We're done with that nonsense, Applejack said. Fluttershy nuzzled her. Thank you. Fluttershy, I said some horrible things to you, and I didn't realize you needed saving as much as every pony else until near the end. I think this whole mess that she'd gotten herself into was proof of that. It's okay, Rainbow Dash. We're still friends, and that's what counts. Slowly, the hug broke. Fluttershy stood up and spread her wings, arm flaring. I was so obsessed with doing nothing that I didn't do any of the things I should have. That includes apologizing to a friend after I used her and tried to get her hurt. Sakura, Spike realized. Come to think of it, I owe her an apology too. Fluttershy nodded. Among others, yes. But the nice hurt ponies in the Scoodlees because I told her to. As her mother, she's my responsibility. Fluttershy, most of the ponies are asleep now, waiting to go home, Sweetheart said apologetically. It's okay. Even if it's only in their dreams, they deserve an apology for everything. It'll all just be one drop in a bucket, I said, always one to play Draconiquest's advocate. The others glared at me. Maybe, but it's better than doing nothing, she said. None of us could argue with that. I know, I just wanted to make sure that didn't matter to you, I said with a smile. So yeah, Fluttershy apologized to the Ponyville ponies sleeping for the tomorrow to come, to the Wonderbolts, to all 71,015 Scoodlees, and of course, to Sakura. We met her together in the hut she refused to leave, even knowing it was just a replica of her real home. It was a little weird not having to worry about monsters in this imitation Neverfree. We both came in our natural forms, elkhorns in full custom barding, and knelt before her, our horns brushing the floor. I'm so sorry, Sakura. I used you as a puppet to try and keep Rainbow Dash from learning the truth. I made you into what you've been trying to prove to everyone you aren't. A witch. I told myself it was for the best, but that's no excuse. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. And Sakura, even before I found out the truth, I still abandoned you and Rarity to fly off to Cloudsdale on a whim. I went off on my own without even a note and didn't once check on you, even after you'd just been possessed by some kind of monster. That isn't what loyal friends do when we only have each other to rely on. I apologize. She looked at me. What you did was thoughtless, and not the least bit cautious. And Fluttershy. I will not embellish. What you did was selfish. She looked back at me. But at least you prove your hearts are not stone, through your tireless efforts to atone. While I truly feel anger, nursing grudges is no answer. Our friendship I will not disown. I'll give you a chance to atone. She finished sternly. Fluttershy sure did. She made sure Sakura lived like as a African princess in the meantime, growing the space around her house tree into the biggest exotic flower garden imaginable. Whether Sakura genuinely liked it or was just too polite to say anything is anyone's guess. And me, there wasn't much I could really offer a mare like Sakura. I could only promise I'd always have her back from now on. That's all I could really do for her. There was something else I realized during all this. Minty. I was such a moron. I'd seen Minty, or at least her Minty Pie incarnation, during the final battle with Eclipse. A Minty with 3 rock candies as her cutie mark, armed with some magic sword. She'd spoken with Granfloon during the fight. Heck, she was the keystone of the spell Twilight used to defeat us, and I barely even paid her a glance. That means not only did Pinkie get a chance to speak with a version of Minty in the form of Clover, but it was a chance to clear the air on friendly terms after fighting her in a battle to the death. That was what that moment really meant for her. And from what Razru said, she used to be Clover's sister, and Clover/Minty was part of Twilight. Or something. This reincarnation stuff is way overcomplicated. But if Twilight really was an incarnation of Minty, then he had lost her twice. Applejack was right. I'd been so fixated on my own miseries I didn't stop to think how unique and painful my friends were. Laying on my couch, sharing my every thought with the Reapers, I promised myself I'd do better. With Fluttershy finally ready to join the world again, it was time to finally pick up where we left off before I blew my top and flew off in a huff. So finally, after everything, we were back at Sugar Cube Corner. This time, Pinkie Pie had magicked up several cupcakes with extra sprinkles, and a cake with frosting that spelled out, "Can we all please get along?" Ex-nightmares, angels, proto-goddesses, and a Draconiquest, all ready for another go. Bonbon had anointed herself record keeper and sat silently in the corner, ready to record every word. Razru was off looking after the Scoodlees. Just so there's no more surprises, the mortals will be put in stasis until you're finished, so you don't need to rush, Brede said, reading off a checklist. Razru will be acting as your project manager, and Rancor's volunteered to help keep you on track. Do any of you object to this? We all shook our heads. Starlight, trying her hardest at peacekeeping, spoke next. Look, she started, standing up to look at us villains. I'll admit, it was dumb of me to spring discord on you like that. I should have been more upfront and warned you all in advance before you showed up, giving you time to adjust. I'd say my intentions were good, but last time I used that excuse I nearly ended the world. I swear they weren't trying to make fun of you, Clover piped up. This wasn't about that. And if you don't want to work with Discord, I understand. And so will my bosses, Starlight said, sighing. Thank you for all that, I tell them. And I'm sorry for my earlier outburst. You didn't deserve that. But now that I've had a chance to talk things out with a very wise friend, Applejack and I turn a warm look upon each other. I decided that, yeah, I do want to help out with this new universe. Are you sure? Asked Starlight. This isn't an obligation. There are other ways you can find redemption if you want. Trust me. I insist. I gave them all my strongest look. Just one question, why didn't any of you think about how we'd react to Discord? Don't blame them, Rainbow. This was my idea, Discord whispered. What? But in some loop or another, I realized my world of chaos wasn't worth losing several thousand loved ones I could never get back. Now I understand what you, every version of you, and all the other ponies I tortured for my own amusement felt like. I know what my mortal mother and my Paradise Estate family felt when I suddenly became a monster and destroyed what they'd spent lifetimes building. And I'm sorry. Nightmare Eclipse wouldn't have existed if not for me. Even if I've paid for my evil, I'd like to try making up for some of hers. I never noticed before, but Bright Eyes and Clover didn't look much happier to be around Discord than us Nightmares. I just never bothered to look before now. Discord gave a sad sigh. Let me explain one thing very, very important. It was before your time. Buttercruel taught me, no, reminded me how to care about someone else again. No, even that's wrong. I was taught how it felt to lose someone you loved just for the entertainment and satisfaction of someone more powerful than you. I had to play a part just so none of my paradoxy wouldn't torture others worse to hurt me. And then there was Tirek, long ago, still before your time. I tried to team up with him several times. Each time he'd betray me and eat my magic, and the world would be destroyed in the battle between him and Nightmare Paradoxy. I was able to tell them the truth a few times with the Valyard's help, and even then he betrayed me anyway. I remembered Nightmare Eclipse's stories of that. Apparently Tirek had been the one thing that Eclipse had never been able to neatly defeat once in any loop. It always ended in the world broken. I almost think she might have been scared of him. So now I know what it felt like to be the ants instead of the fool with a magnifying glass, Discord explained. He then gave a chuckle. You know the funny thing? What? In the first loop, I was left dumbfounded the little pony had beaten me. By the last, I was cheering when ponies proved themselves better than the one that beat me, and saying I knew you could do it. Funny how things work out, huh? I admit, that got a smile out of me. Yeah, it is kind of a hoot, huh? So what name do you make people call you these days? I asked him. He wasn't expecting that question. I'm sorry? What name do you make people call you these days? I repeated, perfectly patient. I asked because recently I've been on something of a kick where I've been telling every pony else to call me Nightmare Manacle. Names are very important, and a lot's happened since the last time you're face-to-face like this. So, one more time, what name do you make people call you these days? As Discord purses his lips together, I think back on all the many cutesy monikers. Both those he made up for himself, and the ones he had us Elements of Chaos invent on the spot. Grand Penholder, Supreme Horseradish, the One True Mixologist, Pedal Jumper, Investigator 59.7 Repeating Decimal, the Everlasting Gongoozle, Destroyer of Sense, Super Draconquest Level Overlord, the Busiest Vacuum, the Inescapable Glitch, Moo Moo Aloo, the Upteenth Swizzle Stick, Mr. Takes Great Even in Milk, Edwin Reborn, and so many others. I think ponies considered it an unwritten rule that you never called them the same name twice in a row. Discord, he said. Discord is my name. Though the title has changed, and now Spirit of Chaos and Diversity. Has a better ring to it, don't you think? Hello, Discord, I greeted him. My name is Nightmare Manacle. How have you been? Oh, I'm doing splendid now. Still can't visit my youngest child without permission, but that's how it goes. I experienced the death of every creature I've ever harmed, then wrote apology letters to all of them. I'm actually quite famous now. There are villains in the ninth circle of Dad's Gizzard who say they're relieved to have Pops as a fair and balanced eternal tormentor after they caught wind of what you did to me. Not to say I didn't deserve every moment of it, for the first 500 loops at least. Killing Apple Pie in front of me while I begged you to spare her on my hands and knees was a bit much, even for me. His ears perked up. Ah, that reminds me. I miss a few ponies on my list. Discord got up from his seat and knelt on the floor in front of us, bowing his head. I'm sorry for everything I did to all of you. Applejack, Pinkie Pie, Rainbow Dash, Spike, Fluttershy, Flutternice. There were tears in his eyes. Applejack trotted forward. I think every pony just wants to move on with their lives instead of holding on to grudges, Discord. Discord flinched away from her. I can't blame him. We tortured him for eons. Hugs and kisses were gonna have to wait a while. What you did to ponies was wrong. What you did to my family and my friends and their families was wrong. But what we did to you and your family was wrong too. Two wrongs don't make a right. You were all monsters once. Let's be reform monsters together. I'm sorry, and I forgive you. One after the other, Spike, Pinkie Pie, Fluttershy, we all traded forgiveness and apologies with Discord. When it came to be my turn, I thought about all the mixed feelings I had in Discord. Mixed like everything else in my gut, churning into a big puddle of sludge. And yet, staring Discord down, I didn't feel any of that swirling uncertainty I was so used to. I was tired of being wary of him, even after all this time. Even after the 1,000 years I spent as his pet turned into eons spent as his tormentor. An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. I was sick of hating. I was sick of distrusting. I was sick of paranoia. And I was sick of grudges. I was done. I forgive you too, and I'm sorry for all the shit I put you through. Discord smiled wanly and gave me his forgiveness in turn. His last apology was for Flutternice. She replied, I don't want to hear it, you monster. Go away and never come back. And with a sad, sad sigh, he poofed himself away. Flutternice gave a great sniff of satisfaction. Fluttershy stamped her hose. Discord Apophis Typhon, you get yourself back into existence this instant. And with another poof, he came back. Yes, ma'am, he said meekly. Hey, that wasn't supposed to happen, Flutternice snapped. It's happening now, Flutternice, Fluttershy said sternly to her child. Now both of you, stay where you are. Discord froze like a picture. Literally, there was a camera snap and everything. Reformed or not, he's still Discord. There's something I need to say about your father, Flutternice. Yes, Mama? Your father was a bad Draconequus, the worst. He did awful things. He made you love doing awful things, whether he meant to or not. He made my friends love to do awful things. He deserved to be punished. But he has been punished, and he's done and is continuing to do everything he can to make up for it. He hasn't been that bad Draconequus for a very long time. Even when your Auntie Eclipse was alive, I wanted to stop hurting him because I knew he'd changed and was truly sorry. And I'd been one of the ones to tell her she was forgiven for thinking that. I looked away. And I need to apologize to you too, Flutternice. Nice's eyes widened. Please, Mama, no more apologizing. You didn't do anything wrong. Yes, I did. I didn't even try to help you learn how to understand your element, your cutie mark, or the way you were born. All I did was forgive you for things that weren't your fault to begin with, and ignore the things that were your fault. The magic of the Nature Series isn't evil. Your cutie mark isn't evil. And your element of chaos wasn't evil either. It was wrong for me to tell you they were. It was the way you were using them that was evil, but I didn't even try to see that. I never tried to show you the light to that darkness. I apologize, Flutternice. Mommy is sorry. She's very sorry she never realized the truth until just now. Without another word, she placed her horn on Flutternice's head. I recognized the spell she was casting, one to shatter the taint of a discordant heart, and the other to squeeze a long conversation in the space of moments in the other's mind, at the cost of a nasty headache the next morning. When the spell ended a few seconds later, Flutternice looked between her parents with eyes wide as saucers, lost and confused. With a quiet whisper, she buried her face in her mother's chest. Give her some time, Shy said to Discord, hose wrapped around her child. I'll have to ask my therapist to schedule an appointment for Nice. She needs the kind of help I can't provide on my own. There was silence in the room, save for Flutternice's muffled crying. Then I realized something. Hey, Discord, I said. I think there's someone else you missed. There's one creature left in creation, out of all the ponies you ruin the lives of, that you absolutely have to earn the forgiveness of. As Discord drew a resigned breath, I turned to Applejack. Can I borrow a mirror? Applejack pulled out a reflective feather. I passed it over. Well, Discord? He looked at his reflection. Discord, I'm sorry, and I forgive you. He slumped. My heart leapt in my throat when Fluttershy patted him on the shoulder. You're done hurting others, and I know you've been hurt enough. It's time to move on. Crying again, the God of Chaos looked at her meekly. Thank you, Fluttershy. And, we should probably start on building that new universe. Don't worry, I remember. But first, I've got one last announcement, Discord continued. My daughter, the surviving Fluttercruel, has also seen the error of her ways and is on the road to redemption as well. I just thought perhaps you may be happy to hear that, Fluttershy. Even if she isn't from the same time loop as you, I know you of all ponies won't care about that now that you're in your right mind. Flutternice pulled away from her mother to give us all a confused, panicked look. But that's just the potential me. She's not real. I'm real. I'm me. How can you defile the meaning of personhood like that by calling something that isn't even alive a real person? We all cringed, hearing Nightmare Eclipse's words out of her mouth, hearing how much we'd truly corrupted her. Flutternice, Fluttershy whispered. That's the wrong way to look at it. She's not you, just like how all those Goodaloos aren't the same pony. That Fluttercruel is your half-sister, I suppose. Discord is both your fathers, but a different me is her mother. Does that make sense? Bernice just groaned, shaking her head. That's not the point! She's just a recording of evil me played over and over again until you all take them out of the loop and make them real, like the Scoodaloos. Mama, why are you testing me like this? Is this another punishment? I'm sorry, Nice, sighed Fluttershy. I have been testing you for a very long time, haven't I? But your Auntie Eclipse was wrong. She wasn't a good pony. All her talk about recordings was just a lie she told to make herself feel better. Like how I told all these ponies nice little lies to keep them happy. But that doesn't make it alright. It's never okay to lie to yourself to justify hurting ponies. A lie? She looked sick. But no, they weren't real. They aren't real. They're just props, robots. They don't become ponies until later. They're just potential ponies. No pony was hurt because they weren't alive. It can't be a lie. Discord looked down. I think seeing her act like this brought up bad memories. Pinkie Pie looked about ready to cry. Nice, they were real. They weren't props. What Auntie Eclipse and the rest of us did, it was wrong. It was bad. I trapped us all in here because I was scared we'd finally have to face up to what we did. You shouldn't feel guilty for any of that. It's all my fault. Okay, now Flutternice looked scared. You said we were protecting the ponies because the Menal Concepts would erase all of them, because they didn't want them to be real. That they were going to punish all of you because you were going to make a better world than them, and the Concepts were all jealous and selfish. You were punishing evil Discord. You were setting up to make a golden world where every pony would be happy. That can't be evil. Nothing you did was wrong. That was the lie I used to live with myself, Nice. It wasn't the Concepts who didn't want them to be real. It was Eclipse. We had to work very hard to keep her from deleting this place like every other timeline. She was the selfish one, and we're just as selfish for going along with her. We thought the golden world would make it all worth it in the end, Applejack added. But even when I was still insane, I knew it would just be a paradise built on worse than corpses, and that we'd all go to Tartarus for it. Not because the Concepts are brats who can't stand seeing somebody better than them, but because we genuinely deserved it. We erased entire universes millions of times just for the sake of a single golden planet. Tell me, Flutternice, have I ever lied to you? And all this time, it turns out the Concepts were willing to make a whole new universe just to save these ponies. I was wrong. Mama's sorry she lied. She was a bad pony. A very bad pony. Daughter looked at Mother as if she was saying that squares had actually been round shapes all along. Stop saying that! You're not bad! You all did what you had to do for every pony! It's his fault! It's all Discord's fault! Everything Discord does is bad! Flutternice cried, stomping her hoof. One problem with that, kid, Applejack said. Discord, he created you. Evil fathers force themselves on helpless mothers all the time, don't they? They do, said Discord. They do indeed. But your ma, Applejack continued, I had turned her into Nightmare Whisper. So if you want to blame somebody for your ma being a bad guy, blame me for making her a nightmare. Discord made me evil when he violated my mother. You made her real. Flutternice, said Discord. You're right. I made you cruel by violating your mother. And that was wrong. But that logic you're using right now, that was my logic for every wrong, evil thing I've ever done. That I was somehow the only real thing in the world, and everything else was just a little playset for me to goof around in. They're not real, so it doesn't matter if I hurt them. Look where that got me. In the end, Nice, I said, thinking about what Discord just said. Eclipse just became Discord 2.0. She became everything about him she hated, times 100. And so did the rest of us. And I'm sorry, really, that all of us, not just your mom, passed that down to you. I think I knew it was wrong deep down, and that's why I kept the Scoodles asleep all that time. I didn't want to ruin them like we did you. I noticed Applejack nod to herself and tighten one wing against her side. Not sure why. Please, 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 stop saying all this! Flutternice held her forelimbs to her head. Nicey, Pinkie Pie said. I thought this was all a game. I thought this was a comedy. I was wrong. It wasn't. And lots of ponies were hurt because I was too crazy to tell the difference. Nice turned a heartbroken look on her mother. You taught me what was right and what was wrong after all the lies evil Discord told me. You taught me hurting ponies was wrong. You taught me being nice was right. Was all that lie too? You're not like Discord. You're not. Pinkie Pie sighed. Those things weren't lies, Nicey, but your ma was right to tell you hurting ponies was wrong. But Nice, we hurt ponies. Bad. Very bad. I'd show you my wings if I didn't think it'd break you in two. Starlight stepped forward. Flutternice, I know you probably don't trust me. Any pony would have to be dumber than rocks to trust you, you triple-tongued lying liar, hissed Flutternice. Patch wordlessly put down her sword on the table and touched her own shoulder, making her wings vanish. She trotted up to Flutternice before any of us realized what she was doing and slapped her. I don't know if that was shrewd to do in front of a girl's mostly divine parents, or just stupid, but I could tell Patch and me had one thing in common. Seeing our loved ones be put down lit a fire beneath us. Don't you ever call Starlight that again, you brat! Starlight is one of the most annoyingly honest girls I know. She keeps secrets, same as every pony, but I've never once heard her lie, so shut up and listen! You think you can bully me into? You want to take me on again? Go right ahead and— Patch, stop! Starlight shouted. That's enough! Patch snorted and sat back down, grabbing a cupcake and shoving it in her mouth grumpily. Sweetheart bowed to Discord and Fluttershy, and said in the most humble, non-aggressive voice this side of Fluttershy, I deeply apologize for my friend. She's very protective of Starlight. Starlight, please continue. I'm sorry for Patch, Flutternice, but long ago, I tried to do exactly what your aunts wanted to do. I helped to design a golden world, one where no pony got hurt and every pony's dreams came true. But it went wrong, and instead I hurt a lot of ponies. We, Bright Eyes corrected. It was my idea first. Your Aunt Pinky's world died because of our failures, Flutternice. It was our fault, our mistake. It was born from the best possible intentions. You destroyed a beautiful world, Flutternice said, voice as flat as it could be with tears clouding her throat. No way, not you guys, calling me absolutely shocked. That mistake is why I became an angel of death, Starlight said, voice even. The world we created had to be rolled back to keep it from collapsing in on itself and taking out every world line connected to it. The fixed version saw your uncle destruction triggering an explosion that nearly wiped out the planet. Not because of any jealousy or anger or whatever you've been told, but because it was the only way to halt Pinky's world's creation without straining fate more than it already had been, condemning millions to death to save trillions from oblivion. It was a horrible decision, but one that had to be made because of me. I became an angel of death to guide every pony who died because of my oversights. Her eyes widened. Most of us were stunned silent. Stop taking all the blame for yourself, Starlight, Bright Eyes sighed. You had an entire team working on the spell. They're as much to blame as you. Agreed, Applejack said. If all your good intentions involve destroying paradises like Mom's, I don't think heaven's the right place for you. That's it, you're gonna— This time Clever and Melody had to hold down Patch before she could start a super brawl between a deputy angel of death and a demi Chronicless. Was I the stubborn when Applejack came to see me, out in that asteroid? Did I fight her like that? I think I tried to, at least. I told Magician the same thing at my trial, actually. And I haven't actually had the pleasure of crossing the gates yet. I've still got a long ways to go before I'll have earned that right. Flutternice was thrown for a loop. I jumped in. When I accepted Eclipse's deal, I had good intentions too. But by the end, I really wasn't any better than her. I didn't think at all before chaining myself to her. I'm sure there's something else I could have done, and I'm sure somewhere in creation there's a world where I beat her. But this me, in this reality, my good intentions just helped fill up nothingness. Good intentions don't always stay good, Flutternice. Uncle Banneret, say something, please! Don't tell me you... Please, say that everything is alright. I want you to. Say that we were doing good. Say it! Be generous, Unky, and say it, please! Spike looked down. I'm sorry, Nice, but I did all this because I loved Rarity. And now hundreds of thousands of Rarity's shadows are lost in oblivion because I helped Nightmare Eclipse. My claws are soaked in her blood. The truth is, I haven't been giving anything to anyone but Nightmare Eclipse in a long time. And even then it was all for my own selfish wants. That's nonsense! You made me such wonderful gifts! You made such wonderful gifts for all of us! And you had such wonderful gifts set aside for when anti-Rarity comes! Exactly. I didn't care which Rarity. I just wanted a Rarity to become Nightmare Charity. Like they were all a bunch of interchangeable dolls, and I could just keep throwing away the broken ones until I got one that worked for me. I didn't care about how that Rarity became Nightmare Charity. I just wanted her. How can that be anything but selfish? But all your gifts to me, to us, the stuffed animals that hug back for Auntie Manacle, the family album for Auntie Mirror. You can't say those were selfish. I only gave you those trinkets to secure myself as the generous one, Spike sighed. I wasn't really giving anything up, just playing the part. And even then, it was only to my tiny group of friends, not anyone else. How is that bad? Because all the while, I was taking lives away from the rest of the world. I hurt Rarity so many times because Eclipse convinced me it would all be worth it again and again. That is selfish. Only giving to friends and dismissing the rest of the world as unimportant. I was no better than any other dragon polishing their hoard. Discord must have you all under mind control. Nice enough, I said. Since when has Discord ever been able to control the likes of us? Well, you're weaker now since Auntie Eclipse is gone. Even if I wanted to, Dad revoked my brainwashing rights, Discord shrugged, casually summoning a document signed by all 4 elders. I'm fairly certain those signatures burned themselves into my brain, even though they were borderline unintelligible. In an Entropy's case, just a missing scrap of paper where her name should have been. Then Nice opened her mouth again, but it took a second for her to grasp onto a new excuse. I'm dreaming. This is all one big illusion. Nice, that is enough, Shy said. Please don't go down my road. You won't find anything happy at the end. Nice didn't explode into a full-grown Draconequist and promise to destroy this confusing universe. She didn't call us imposters and try to fight us, and she didn't try to kill herself in some horrible moment of despair. Instead, there's nothing real anymore, Nice sobbed, collapsing to the ground. Was anything ever real? I love you, sweetie. That's real. I promise, Fluttershy said, nuzzling her. So do I. Cross my heart, hope to fly, stick a cupcake in my eye, Pinkie Pie said. She just shook and cried, like any little filly would. Fluttershy pressed up against her. It's okay, dear. Just let it all out. Spike reached out with one claw and gently stroked her mane. Patch sighed and turned her head. Sweetheart tenderly wiped Nice's tears. I saw Discord hugging himself in the corner. More than anything, he must have wanted to reach out and comfort his daughter, but he held himself back. Poor guy. As Fluttershy said, it would take time.